England closed the third day of the second Test match on 36 for 2, so they still need 261 more to win. They've lost both their openers. Crawley for 3, Duckett for a second ball duck after his first innings 100 on his 30th birthday too, which is a bit of a sad way to celebrate that, but even so, it's the shot that he plays, that sweep shot. I don't think anyone's going to be critical of that. Ollie Pope 21 not out, Joe Root 12 not out, will come back tomorrow with a mountain to climb on this pitch, very difficult indeed. 16 wickets fell today. The first 4 of those were of course English, as Sajid Khan mopped it up to finish with 7 for 111, and that 52 runs that England added were bolstered actually by a stand of 29 for the last wicket, between Jack Leach, who made 25, and Shoaib Bashir, who finished with 9. Ingo Pakistan, they were bowled out for 221. There were a couple of useful partnerships along the way. They lost wickets fairly regularly. England dropped catches though, almost exclusively off Bryden Cast, who had 3 put down off him of various difficulty. I think the one that Saud Shakil gave, you have to say, if Joe Root had been standing in a normal position at slip, he might well have caught it. It went very quickly, but he's standing so close because of the slowness of the pitch that he didn't really have time to react as it flew past him. That was one chance, and Saud had 2. He made 31, but the big miss is with Salman Agha, who was dropped in 3 balls twice, on 4 and on 6, and he went on to score a really crucial 63 in a stand of 65, is that right, with Sajid and Salman, or something like that. Sajid ended with 22 as well, but Salman Agha's 63 really pushed that target up to an area that I think England will be very hard pressed to overhaul. 297, so they lost Crawley for 3, Duckett for 0. They need a further 261 to win. Steve Fitton alongside me. It's kind of followed the route we probably thought it would take this match.
Yeah, it's. I think when we first looked at that pitch on the first morning, we wondered when it would explode and deteriorate, and it happened at tea yesterday. And from that moment where England lost 4 for 14 yesterday, it felt as though they're going to have to work really, really hard, and everything's going to have to go their way for them to drag themselves back into the game and critically take every single chance that was offered to them by Pakistan in their bowling innings. And it did just feel that little passage of play before tea here today, where they dropped those 2 catches, it felt like that was the moment that deflated England somewhat.
Heads dropped in there. I mean, it hasn't happened really much with this team, but you just felt it slumped. Yeah,
it's the first time that we've looked at them and it looked as though just a couple of shoulders got hunched, as if to say, man, that was our opportunity, that was our chance to get ourselves back into this game and leave us chasing something like 240 in this last innings. Then that partnership ensued, a very good partnership actually between the two of them, and it's led England to facing what looks like somewhat of a mountain to climb.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been worse, I suppose. I mean, Pope and Duckett, Pope and Root actually played pretty well here. Towards the end, a lot of excitement around it, and when you get on a roll and there is all that noise and chatter and stuff, they could easily have lost on a couple of wickets there this evening.
Watching Joe Root there was beautiful, wasn't it? Yeah. Really, just how decisive he is, and it shows that you can still accumulate runs out there if you're very selective and not premeditated about the way that you want to play. He got right back on his stumps and watched the deliveries that were shorter and made sure that he played them late. He wasn't jutting his hands out towards them when it was forward, or when he was forward he was smothering it to the pitch of the ball with soft hands, so it was dribbling towards the gully fielders, and then every now and again he'd get one of those sweeps out that mean that he then can score a boundary and rotate the strike. So I expect to see more of the same from Root tomorrow, and his teammates are going to have to follow suit.
Some balls have spun massively. I mean, it's not been dangerous. I'll be very interested to see what Richie Richardson, the match referee who has to assess this pitch as part of his job, will make of this, because it hasn't been dangerous. But somehow, Somerset will say, won't they? Well, everyone always marks pitches that spin down, just because people think that it's okay to have pitches that are green and seam around at the start of a game, but for some reason you can't have a pitch that spins. But it's been great entertainment to watch it. It's been a really nice, refreshing change after the last Test match to see the ball being challenging and really challenging too. I've enjoyed it. I mean, I hope he doesn't mark it down, because Pakistan have tried here to make an effort. Yes, everything has gone their way. The selections worked out for them. They won the toss. They batted first. That could have all got a bit ugly if that hadn't happened. And it looks as if they're going to win the game. So they'll go away happy, which is what they needed. 1-1 in the series with 1 to play. Well, that adds some interest. So I hope he doesn't mark it down.
Yeah, it's been a far more entertaining spectacle this week for me. I mean, that toss is now looking absolutely crucial in deciding who wins this game. And when you're playing on a really flat pitch like you did last week, it's the best team who wins generally, if they win at all on a track like that. It's definitely levelled the playing field, and everything's gone Pakistan's way for them to find themselves in this position. But there have been some really skillful bits of play by them, and they've grasped their opportunities when they've had to. That collapse, especially of 4 for 14 yesterday, is what just before that happened. I was sat there certainly thinking, wow, England could get ahead of Pakistan here before this pitch deteriorates. But Pakistan grabbed their chance yesterday evening, and that's proving critical.
Yeah, talked to Aruja earlier, who we had on at lunchtime. She was saying pitches don't break up in Pakistan. You never really see it spin. Well, we're certainly seeing one now.
This one has.
And they know what to do. I just wonder if, before we look back at today, if Pakistan do win tomorrow, and it looks like it, they will, what they'll do up at Rawalpindi, because as far as we know, there isn't a pitch there that's been played on recently. I wonder if they will go all out to produce something similar. Or I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But they'll take great confidence away that they can beat England in these conditions.
Yeah, I think we discussed it briefly in between Test matches. How are Pakistan going to win a game against England? And it felt as though it was going to take them recalling some spinners who are experienced and a bit gnarled up and happy to do things the ugly way, which they have done, and produce a pitch that moves laterally for the spinners and get England being challenged to have to grind and guts it out for little periods of time, and Pakistan have applied enough pressure upon England across this game to warrant their position way ahead of it.
Yeah, what a game Sajid Khan's having, isn't he? I mean, back in the side, he finishes 7 for 111. If you're listening and you get a chance to see some of this, I mean, he's one of the most aggressive spin bowlers I think I've ever seen. I mean, Shane Warne could get in your face a bit and say things and be a bit flamboyant with his arms and so on. This fella's angry.
He looks possessed, doesn't he?
I mean, he really does. He looks like he just come at you. Yeah. I wouldn't like to meet him in a dark night somewhere. I mean, his eyes are bulging, aren't they? And that's only for an off spinner. Imagine if he'd been a fast bowler.
It's a scary proposition. Luckily, he wouldn't get them to bounce too much because he's about 5'7". But it reminds me of Murali Kartik, actually, the Indian left-arm spinner who I played with at Middlesex in the late 2000s. Super aggressive, hated people sweeping him. When he got a wicket, he was there pumped up, fired up in people's faces. It's been a lovely addition to this Test match, actually. I've really enjoyed watching him bowl, his competitiveness, his combativeness, and the way he batted today, and that partnership that he put on with Salman Ali Agha, I think really twisted the knife on England.
What's caught your attention?
Well, just on Sajid Khan, 7 for 111 in first innings. The best first innings figures by any bowler against England since Mitchell Johnson demolished England in Adelaide in December 2013 with 7 for 40. And best first innings analysis in Pakistan since 2000 by any bowler from any team.
While you're on, anything else that's sort of really caught you today?
Also, the best innings analysis by a spin bowler, first or second innings in Pakistan since Saqlain Mushtaq took 8 for 164 in 74 overs. And just something on Noman Ali's wicket in the second innings, Zach Crawley stumped within the first 4 overs of the second ball of the fourth over, the third earliest in a Test innings that an England player has been stumped. The only two have been stumped earlier: Archie McLaren back in the 1894-95 Ashes, and Alistair Cook.
There we go.
Believe, in the Calcutta Test that you played in, Finney.
That's still quite a hard one to get your head around, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they were chasing 40. They got a massive 100 in the first innings.
Yes. Did he come down the pitch and have a swipe? I can't remember.
Well, he must have done. Yeah, it was very Alistair Cook-like.
Yeah, but he wasn't just dragged out of his crease like Crawley was a bit today. It was
I'd have to pull the scorecard up and have a look at the detailed analysis.
Right, well, there we go. Thank you indeed, Andy, for that. I'm looking at Jason Gillespie plodding around again. I mean, he kept coming into this game, and all the changes that Pakistan made, and all this the vast selection committee that they've had, the number of selectors that they've had over the last few months and so on. I mean, if it does work for them, I feel that it might actually set them off in a more positive course, a positive direction.
But maybe slightly more confused about how they're going to move forward in the long term. I suppose when you're a coach and you're there, you want the short term serotonin is the right word, of feeling good about something. You want that hit. But yeah, I think the long-term plan of scuffing wickets up and picking a 38-year-old finger spinner probably doesn't have all that much longevity. So yeah, in the interim and the short term, certainly it gives them direction about how to beat a team like England. You do just wonder how fractious sometimes those large committees of people behind the scenes can be when they're picking the squad and the coach doesn't have a say in it. But certainly there'll be a few people on that committee feeling vindicated, I think, with the position that Pakistan find themselves in.
Let's hear from the England assistant coach, Paul Collingwood.
Well, the game's moving on. How do you see it after 3 days?
Yeah, look, we've got to be realistic. Tomorrow's going to be one hell of a chase if we were to do it. I mean, there'll still be plenty of belief in the changing room, and we'll have to break records to be able to chase that down tomorrow. But with the pitch effectively, going into the 8th day of the Test match, then it's going to be a tough ask. There's plenty of cracks out there. We can see there's quite a bit of turn. We've been, I'm not saying experimenting, but just seeing if that heavy roller in some ways can just dampen the turn from the good areas of the pitch. I mean, the cracks are never going to go away, but just to see if we can take some of that. So we'll crack another heavy roller on. Hopefully it doesn't run out of diesel tomorrow morning and see where that takes us.
Yeah, it broke down this morning. What do you make of that?
Well, I didn't realise that you could get 8 men pushing a heavy roller. I thought that as soon as it broke down, I thought that might have been it for the day. But yeah, I'm sure they've got some more diesel in, and they can crank it up tomorrow as well.
So how do you approach it on a pitch like that?
Look, I think it's history will tell you, and stats will tell you if you approach it in the way that many teams have done in the past, then looking at a total like that, it's you're going to have to break records. So our mantra of batting is always consistent and will always stay the same, and that's soak up pressure when you need to, and apply pressure when you get the opportunity, and always looking to apply pressure and apply it as much as you possibly can if you feel as though there is a time in the match where you can, and so that'll not change. The methods on a pitch like that might slightly change from playing straighter against the spin and playing a bit squarer. Obviously with the sweeps, the reverse sweeps will come into it. We've been successful in spinning conditions in the past. I think that nobody gave us a hope in the first test in India, and for someone like Popey to go out there and score the runs he did, we went on to win that test match. Look, as I said, we've got to be realistic. It's a difficult position to be in, but one that everybody in that dressing room will still have belief that they can go out there and do something special.
Looking at the pitch, you're actually a bit surprised that as many runs have been scored on it as there have been?
I actually thought, on day one it played pretty well, considering the amount of cracks and that were in the pitch, and I guess in many ways Pakistan took a I wouldn't say a gamble, but a bit of a risk on using the same pitch, and then hoping to win the toss with the selection that they'd done. And fair play to them, they won the toss and they managed to get over 300 on that pitch in the first day. So it's look, from our point of view, we get what we're given in terms of the pitch, and you've got to go out there and find ways of first of all taking 20 wickets. Which we've done, but obviously we just got to go out there and do something special tomorrow, and it will be something special if we can do it. If we can do something like that, then it'll eclipse pretty much most of the test matches that we've had in the subcontinent in terms of wins. So We're going to have to throw some punches at times, but we're going to have to, as we know, soak up some pressure at times.
What about the bowling effort today? What did you make of that?
Yeah, look, fantastic. Again, I thought the seamers, Bryden Carson in particular, he's certainly not used to bowling on conditions and pitches like this back home in Durham, but I thought his skill, his stamina, along with Potsy, just bashing the pitch hard and getting that reverse swing and creating chances, creating quite a lot of chances on probably one of the more slower pitches that they'll play on. I thought it was a top effort, and for the spinners themselves to toil away, and it can be sometimes spinners can feel under pressure when there is so much turn, and they're scratching their head that they're not taking wickets at times. But if they keep getting the ball in those dangerous areas, then you're going to create chances, and thankfully they took some wickets today.
I presume it's agony when those catches go down, especially when someone gets a half century and turns like a 230 chase into a 290 chase.
Yeah, look, it is frustrating. When you have partnerships down at the lower order, it is frustrating. I mean, we had one ourselves this morning in Leach and Bashir. I think they put on a 30 partnership and changed momentum at times. But yeah, nobody wants to drop catches. The one thing I would say being on this pitch, that the slip cordon have come extra close. We've seen them with the helmets on, obviously for safety. It's literally, that's how close they've been. Obviously, I thought Smudge has had an outstanding test match with the gloves. Sometimes he can go unnoticed, and I thought the two catches he took in the first innings actually, were so quick, and he made them look so easy that if he'd have dropped them, you wouldn't have minded so much. But today, probably the easier one out of all.
He'll probably never drop a catch like that again in his life.
Exactly, and that's the kind of the levels that he has, and I think he's, the way he's took Test cricket so far in his career, it's when he does drop a catch like that, we all kind of look back. But it happens in cricket, we all want to catch them, but even the safest pair of hands sometimes drop them.
Well, Salman, fantastic day for Pakistan. Sum up where you feel you are in the game.
Well, we are ahead of the game. There is no doubt about that. But as we all know, England is someone who can put the momentum very quickly to their side. So we need to be aware of that, and we need to be doing the good things we are doing.
What sort of target were you looking for when you batted for a second time? What did you think could give you a really good chance of winning?
To be honest, we were looking for anything around 200 plus. But me and Sajid, I think, whatever great partnership, that's made us to score 300 runs.
Yeah. And you had that license, didn't you, that confidence to play, because you had those runs in the bank in that partnership.
Yeah, when we scored 220 to 30, I knew we have done what we wanted, and then after that, it was all bonus.
Yeah, and what about that little session before the close of play with those 2 wickets?
Yeah, that's what we wanted. Like at least 1 wicket. We got 2 wickets, 2 openers, and that's what I'm saying. We are ahead of the game.
Yeah. What's been the key, do you think, you've been able to turn it round from the first Test match?
I think the way we have put over the team, and then the characters we have shown. The people come in, new people come in. Sajid came in and took 7 wickets and scored runs. Noman took 3 wickets and then he scored very crucial runs in the first inning. So I think the characters who came in and put up the show, and then the Kamran Ghulam, I think he came in on a debut and scored 100 on a tricky pitch. I think that's the major difference.
Expect to win it from here?
We should win from there, but we have to do good things, consistent basis. That's where we're going to win the game.
Well played today. Thanks for your time.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Stay with us. Very shortly, we'll continue our analysis of the third day's play in Multan.
The TMS Podcast from BBC Radio 5 Live.
We wondered about Pakistan in the second innings, didn't we? Because we know how they folded here last week, and their recent history suggests that their confidence would be low. Well, they were 9 for 1, 25 for 2, 43 for 3, but actually they overcame that. And I just wonder, what you thought of England's bowling at that stage, and maybe compare and contrast England's spinners with Pakistan's that seem to have more experience about them. When Jack Leach has been around a long time, but Bashir hasn't. How do you think that England's spinners fared? Because they did have some pressure on Pakistan at that stage. They're 25 for 2, 43 for 3. Bashir actually taken all those first 3 wickets. They just couldn't quite ram it home.
Yeah, I think that's what they struggled to do throughout the innings, wasn't it? At important stages, I think they struggled to really keep and hold that pressure on. I think that's partly because of how well Pakistan played. They clearly came out with the intent not just to survive but to score runs, which I think when we were sat there before the third innings we wondered whether Pakistan would come out and freeze under that pressure. But that 75 run lead I think proved pivotal in the sense that it left England beyond a certain stage really desperate for wickets, and I think maybe at times the England bowlers searching for wickets would have offered more scoring opportunities to Pakistan. But I'm reticent to be overly critical. Shoaib Bashir, we have to remember that he's been thrust into this position as fundamentally England's number one spinner. He turned 21 a couple of days ago. It takes spin bowlers a long time to figure out how to deal with the pressure of bowling a team out, how to deal with playing in different conditions. So he took 4 wickets today. Yes, his figures might be slightly flattering, but I do think that we need to retain a lot of patience with him. And Jack Leach just plied away, didn't he?
You can see who the more experienced of the two
yes,
is. I mean,
certainly.
Jack just wheels away, doesn't he? And Bashir still, you can feel that bad ball, that short ball.
Just figuring it out, can't you?
Absolutely, yeah. And Rizwan, I thought played him really well because there was that chance again there. 7 for 4 when he came out. Just that chance again, but he rather like Joe Root, a lot of back foot play, and so therefore. Yes, you're scoring runs to start with. That makes the spinner obviously toss it up another foot fuller. Bang on, you go onto the front foot. I mean, it's classic Root batting, really.
Yeah, and it's that being able to get right out. And Rizwan doesn't have the length of stride that Root does, so he would take a little crow hop down the pitch towards the pitch of the ball and get to it. And the guys who are used to playing in these kinds of conditions, the second they see the ball going up out of the bowler's hand, they get down to the pitch of it. And then as soon as they see that trajectory down into the pitch, they get right back on their stumps and they play it. It means that you have to be so precise as a spinner, and as you say, Rizwan, in his ability to be able to get right out to the pitch of the ball or right back onto his stumps, that left him being able to manipulate the strike and move it around, and at a critical time in the game keep that scoreboard moving.
Well, if you've followed England-Pakistan Test matches over the years, as I've been lucky enough to do, you know that their commentators, people who follow Pakistan cricket closely, are notoriously pessimistic. And well, it seems to be the case today. But Atif, even a follower of Pakistan cricket as you are, you must accept that this is going to be 1-1 tomorrow, don't you?
It feels that way. I think again, there's still discussion just looking at social media and the kind of opinions that are prevailing.
Social media on our BBC today said that Ben Stokes shouldn't be playing, so that's the sort of stuff that you get on there.
You absolutely get a lot of nonsense, but you can sort of gauge the feeling and the sort of scars that Pakistani cricket has inflicted upon its followers and its fans and things like that. They are coming off, a horrific run where it's always been about what's the next new low. Like, we've surely hit rock bottom, but you never know where the next new low is. There's a little bit of that about, but I think something about this performance today, especially today, where Pakistan have bowled so well, took those 4 England wickets pretty quickly, batted in a very acceptable manner for this surface, 221 in the third innings, even by their standards, their very poor third innings standards over the past 12 months. This is
because they were 25 for 2, they were 43 for 3. There was an opportunity there for England, or indeed that frailty of that third innings to rear its head again.
It did, but they managed to pass 200 on testing circumstances for the first time in the calendar year. And then again, just nipping away those 2 wickets, the energy with which they've approached the game. Shan Masood, he's not let himself get carried away. At the start of the day, I had a chat with Azhar Mahmood, and I said, "You must be feeling good." He's like, "Nope, nothing yet. Nope, absolutely not. We wait till the job is done, and then we start thinking a little bit more positively." So, it appears that they're going to break this streak of 11 matches without a win at home. And 6 test matches on the bounce for Shan Masood without a win. This would be a pretty big one for Pakistan, though of course it throws up questions about the future. Like, this is a wonderful win in isolation if they get there, but what is it sustainable? I don't know.
I was going to ask you that very question, and whether or not they continue this sort of policy, whether it vindicates this enormous selection panel that they have, whether they're going to carry on this, try and create something pitch-wise like this in in Rawalpindi. I mean, all those things. But they were there in the melting pot, I guess.
Well, I joked about this with Ramiz on commentary today. So they've got a lot of construction equipment at the Rawalpindi Cricket Stadium. You just turn that onto the middle and you might have something going. Or you try and persuade England to play a third test match in Multan, and maybe both teams will be happy because Pakistan like bowling on this pitch.
They can't play on this again.
England like golf, so you never know. But I think, this is going to be a different test for Pakistan, because eventually Babar Azam's going to come back into your team. Eventually Shaheen and Naseem will be back as factors. I suspect in the next test match, probably Zahid Mahmood is going to be replaced by Mir Hamza, and they'll have like a more conventional bowling attack with two seamers and Sajid and Noman back again, filled with confidence presumably from their performance in this test match. But again, it's that batting lineup that's going to have to stand up. Rawalpindi is unlikely to be anything other than a very, very flat and comfortable wicket to bat on. The last time England batted on it, they broke all sorts of records. Those are still scars that Pakistan have to bear, and they have to come up with a different strategy to be victorious in that one.
I just think, even on your social media, they must be very pleased with the spinners of ball. I mean, you're right, though. I mean, the leg spinner really hasn't contributed very much. But the way that Sajid Khan has come in, for instance, and just his attitude, frankly, I mean, that's a really spirited effort by him. I mean, it's quite fun watching him. But that's an aggressive character in action there.
It certainly is. He's got a very inspiring story as well, Sajid Khan. He's from a very humble background. He was orphaned at a very young age as well. He used to sort of repair cricket bats and pawn cell phones, like mobile phones, to fund his cricket. This is an extraordinary story. His first professional shoes were gifted to him by Imran Khan Senior, not that Imran Khan, another Imran Khan.
Right.
But they were gifted to him, and everything that he's achieved in his career, he's been, he's attributed to his mother. He's from Peshawar.
From the Khyber.
Yeah, from the Khyber Pakhtunwala area.
Well, you can see that in him, can't you?
Yeah, there's a lot of boisterousness, there's a lot of performativeness, and really a real boisterousness when he's out there. But everybody in Pakistan will be absolutely thrilled for him. He's considered one of the nice guys of the game, and they've seen the hard work, the longevity of the journey that he's had to go through, and they'll be hoping that he's here to stay.
Yeah, but when you see him bowl like that and you see the character, you wonder why he wasn't around. I mean, I know he played 8 tests, was it, before this one? Yeah, that's not very many for someone who's been around quite a long time, bowled a lot of overs of first class cricket, hasn't he? He's had reasonable success in that. He bowled well against Zimbabwe, didn't he? But he just looks like he's a good fit for Pakistan.
He's played some cricket in England as well. He played in Somerset, and he's he's been on that. He's one of those sort of, sometimes in Pakistani domestic cricket you have these sort of lifers, these first class lifers who are always going to play for the departments or the regions, if that's the way they've structured it that particular year. But there was always a hope that he would come through. I think this performance is going to give him a ton of confidence. The real challenge for Sajid is how he performs going forward. Like, what do you do on a surface that isn't a minefield? How do you perform on a surface that isn't offering you assistance? When batters are coming at you, what have you got then? When it's gut check time, that's when we'll get to find out what Sajid Khan has to come. But for now, he'll very much be enjoying his achievement today. A 7-for against an England side that is, highly rated all over the world. That's just smashed the bowling attack in the first Test match. I think he'll be absolutely thrilled today.
Last thought from you, Finney. 221 more runs. Is that right? No, 261 more runs on that with 8 wickets. Root still there.
Yep. Brook to come.
Stokes to come.
Smith to come. It's clearly a mountain to climb.
Yes.
But if there's any team in recent history that can manage to do it, it feels like it's this England team, and it's more the belief that they will retain within the dressing room overnight, that if they come with a positive attitude, they put Pakistan under pressure, they can try and reopen those cracks, but it's going to take a lot of pushing to open them in the first place, it feels.